Hey, welcome back. Thank you for coming along if this is your first time, and thank you for returning if you've been before. This is number 5 out of 10, hopefully 10 market videos before Christmas. They keep adding up. So this video is going to be some market prep from during this week, a bit of a trip to Spotlight because they had new yarn, a little bit of footage from the markets, a bit of a discussion around what happened at the end of the markets because it was not the most pleasant ending to the markets whatsoever. Market recap, and then I'll show you a few things that I've made last night and today, even though I was absolutely shattered from markets. So first up, here is a Friday check-in with the week's market prep. Hi folks, it's Friday me checking in. I am on the eve of market number 5 in a 10-week run of markets. I was expecting to have a week off at the beginning of December, but thank you, Victoria, who has just given me access to another market. I'm hoping that by the end of this 10 weeks, I will have run out of stock, which will give me the whole summer holidays to actually restock and try some new things and try out some new yarn and really make a dent in that yarn stash that I may or may not have just added to today. Anyway, I'm working on the assumption today that tomorrow's market will actually be cancelled because they are predicting thunderstorms for pretty much the whole day. So I haven't packed the car. I am not going to pack the car until later tonight because I don't want to load it up and then unload it. There was a market on tonight that I was invited to, but it was just a bit too much money for a bit too short a time, and it would have meant that I'd be driving home well after 10 o'clock at night, and I'm too old for that crap. So I'm not doing that market. And also because they're predicting, and you know what, after I considered that tomorrow might be cancelled, I thought, well, maybe I might go do this one tonight, but then they said rain this afternoon as well, and I just can't be asked fluffing around with all of that stuff with potential rain. And anyway, it's a half-hour drive, and we've had this conversation. So yeah, a 10-week run of markets. I don't think I have ever done a 10-week, well, I don't think I've ever done a 3-week run of markets. So this is something new. Let's have a look at some of the things that I did catch up on this week because I didn't really need to do a great deal. As always, loaf cats need to be caught up, and I just do lots of random stuff. So I did take some yarn with me to work. I did manage to get 2 done because there's always something else to do and I don't always take breaks at work. So this little guy, just another Aldi one because the one went last week, and also I'm going to be able to bump things if I do that. Let's go that way. This little guy, which is, I don't know what happened, but it's exactly the same yarn, exactly the same number of stitches, and it turned out smaller. So when I say same yarn, obviously different colour, but yeah, look how stripy that one is. This one came out really stripy this time. Kind of love that a bit. Anyway, so 2 little loaf cats. I'm just sticking around here. Oh, here's another one. I used some of that hideous, horrible glitter yarn. I did this one with a 9mm, which is the only way that I can actually use it without my hands hurting so much that I can't. I know it's a little bit chunky, but I'm thinking that I'm going to put that one into a mini mystery bag because it's just not quite the right size. I mean, I don't have any issues with the shape and the way it turned out, but it kind of just doesn't align with the size. And from memory, I may have even made it with that intention of putting it in a mystery bag. So speaking of mystery bags, I did try to do a few other little things. So my mystery bags are priced in between, sort of halfway between keyring and my smalls. So yeah, I'm trying to make them around about that size. So halfway between keyring and small. So I also want to use up these googly eyes because I've got lots and lots, and the Halloween section was marked down at the supermarket, and so I may or may not have bought some more of these in really cool colours. So anyway, I do have about 20 of them, maybe 30 now. They don't sell on the table, but people seem happy to get them in the mystery bags. Anyway, so I just made like a little adapted leggy frog and put the eyes on the top. And then I thought I'll just have a go at a different kind of frog. So this one's just a little pear-shaped frog, nothing fancy. I just did the same sort of legs as on the leggy frog, but I just sort of pinned them there so that he's sitting, and then just made those front ones come down a little bit more. So 2 leggy frogs going in mini mystery bags. I did a little tiny B4 mystery bag as well, so that's like smaller than my smalls but bigger than my keyrings, much bigger than my keyrings, but relatively smaller than my smalls. Kind of cute, that one as well. I think I put the sinker eye backs on there just to pull the eyes in a bit. And this was an accidental one for the mystery bag. This is just the amateur hour duck pattern, and I don't know why it turned out so tiny, but it's way too tiny to put on the shelf with my others, so that one is destined also for the mystery bag. And this yarn, which came out of mill ends, and I'm going to assume it's a burnout of some kind. It's really kind of nice. It's sort of it's an olive green, sort of tending towards grey, and then it's got this sort of slate blue and this creamy colour with lots of, I don't know if you can see them, but it's got lots of brown flecks in it, and I really quite like that. So, and unfortunately, the white end of the yarn ended up in an unfortunate spot, but what do you do? Anyway, I love this one. This one is super duper soft, and it just works up beautifully. Absolutely love it. I wish we had a better, more regular supply than what we get in the mill ends, but anyway, more news on mill ends and stuff to come. What else did I do? I've had this snake sitting around for ages, and I don't know. Oh, actually, I do know why. I didn't like the tail. I did not like the way the tail turned out. So anyway, I'm going to tie that in a knot, stick it in with my small things, so it'll be relatively cheap. But yeah, so that one's going. That's just a variegated velvet that I found at the sewing basket. And then this snake, which I've shown you before, was from all of the bits when we get these hanks from the mill ends, they come with 3 ties on them. And so I saved all the ties and tied them together from a whole bunch of different balls, and I made this absolutely gorgeous snake. And I kind of don't want to sell it because I love the colors, but I do want to sell it because it's the last thing I need. But look at those colors. They are just absolutely stunning. It's not a fancy snake. I ran out of the bits and pieces, so I've just actually got around to putting the eyes on it, and I'll put that on the table somewhere as well, probably in my small things, just to help it go, considering that it's just mainly made of scrap. What else did I do? I sold a few mid things last week, so I just threw together, and I think I did this, I don't know when I did this. I might have done it at work, I might have done it last week, and I have a feeling I may have done it last weekend at markets. I started doing it. Anyway, it's just your basic loaf cat. It's in my middle size range, and just to mix it up, I just added a few little white details on it there. It turned out in really good shape. I actually quite like this one. Well, I like them all, but you know, I'm pretty happy with that one. That's the one I put the sinker eyes on, the sinker and the sinker backs on it, so that the eyes went in a little bit. Kind of cute. I'm just chucking all these things on the floor. I know some people don't like their stuff on the floor. I don't care. Now, this Aldi yarn, I have buckets and buckets and buckets of it. I don't know why I said buckets, but I've got lots. And I don't like their peach colour. This one's the peach colour Aldi yarn. And I showed you ages and ages ago that I was making something that I called a cat sack, and I got sick of it because I stupidly did it in single crochet, and I wanted it to be like this big, and no, no, I'm not doing that. And so I had this when I stayed at my mum's last weekend, and I just decided, she actually said, I think, make it into a bag. And it doesn't work, but I'm doing it anyway, and I figure I'll just use it myself. But anyway, I folded it in half. I did some surface crochet in the other Aldi yarn, and I'm going to add another ring around there. So I stitched it, and it's not an ideal shape for a bag, but if I use it myself, it'll be fine, because I'm thinking it might be handy just to carry some crochet stuff around with me. These surface crochets actually make it sit, so they sort of work like an edge. So I'm thinking if I put another one at the bottom, it might just sit kind of flat. So anyway, it's pretty big. I'd say it's about 40 to 50 centimeters long. It does kind of bend, so if I put things in it, they're going to go down this end or down this end, and I honestly don't care. I already made a couple of handles and lost them, but they're somewhere. So I've made a couple of handles to put on there, and I guess that can be my granny knitting bag. And I may, if when I'm bored and I don't have anything else to do, when I'm bored and I don't have anything else to do, I may add some more detail on there. I am going to add another row, but I'm thinking something in between. I don't know. But anyway, that's I got so sick of doing that and going round and round and round, and it was going to be like another 5 or 6 years before I got to the end of it. Yeah, forget the cat sacks. I ain't doing cat sacks. That's way too much of my attention. Not going to go. but it was a good use of some of that apricot Aldi yarn. I don't have issues with the yarn quality itself. I really like the Aldi yarn. It's just that colour annoys me. I don't know why. I don't really like it. So what I did was I got that and I got the variegated Aldi yarn and I put them together with the 9mm hook and I did a loaf cap. And it's kind of turned out bumpy, but it's still soft because that yarn is beautifully soft. So this is what happens when you put, I don't know if you can see it properly because of all the lights. Let me just turn this off for a second. Ooh, there you go. Can you see that better maybe? So it's the apricot and the variegated, double-stranded with a 9mm hook. The thing that I love the most about this one is that because I did it with a 9mm hook, it's turned out bigger. It took me the same time that one of my small ones would do, but it's going, this one will go up into my chonks. I was aiming for a mid-range one, but I missed. And so this one's going up in the chonks and then I'll try again. So I'm going to mix some more of those Aldi yarns together. Stay tuned. I really, really like this one. Really like it. And I do like the way that it came out kind of bumpy and it was giving me ideas for sheep. Yeah. My new ideas are a bit sparse at the moment. If you haven't tried mixing your yarns, have a go at mixing your yarns. Even if you end up frogging it, obviously do it with something you can frog. But mixed yarns, I love to death. And I'll show you some. I've got some plans. So the last thing that I made, and oh, surprise, guess who doesn't like it? Also, I have a bit of a story. Do you remember at the same market that Bundle Guy came to, and if you haven't seen the market about Bundle Guy, check the video, the one before the last one. This guy came along and he'd bought a bluey 2 weeks before at the market that I'm supposed to be going to tomorrow, and he came along and he said, oh, it's tail's coming off. And I apologised and I said I could fix it. And he's like, are you sure you can fix it? And I said, absolutely, I can fix it. And he said, well, in that case, can you make a bingo as well? And I said, look, I explained the yarn situation, how Spotlight hates us all. And I said, I will do what I can. I'll have a look. I'll put something together. I'll bring it to markets. And if you don't like it, there's obviously no obligation to buy it. So I finished it. I took a photo. I sent it to him and he said, oh, thanks. Can you make it better? Anyway. This is the bingo that I made. It's in, so this yarn I've shown you before. It's a rusty orange with gold sparkle in it. It's an old Motor Vera that I found at the sewing basket, made with the Aldi, and I can't even remember what that is. No idea what. Oh, actually, I lied. That's a double-stranded one that I found on an internet site somewhere, on Craft to You or something like that, I think. Anyway, look, it's not hideous. I don't love it. The ears are a little bit big, but anyway, I sent him the photo and he said, "Can you make it? Can you make it better? Can you fix the eyebrows?" And I just said, "Okay, you need to show me what you mean." So he sent back a photo and he'd drawn some circles around this part. And what it was, and it was a fair call too, you know, when you change colours and you get those little specks of the other colour peeking through, he didn't like that. But then he also said, can you make them a more consistent shape and make them symmetrically consistent? So then I said, I will do what I can, but it's crochet. It's probably not going to be symmetrically consistent because it's handmade. Anyhow, so then I said, I did the fixing, I sent it back and I said, here it is, I'll bring it on Saturday for you to look at. And in the meantime, could you please send me a photo of the bluey so I know what colour and what I need to do to fix it? And he sent me a photo, which I will put up here. And you can very clearly see that that's not an accidental bit of damage. That's a little pair of fingers pulling threads out wherever they can find them. So yes, I probably could have anchored those a little more, and that's what I will do when he returns it. But I was sort of like, how do I say this is not a product fault? This is your child digging their fingers in and finding bits of thread to pull out. And so I said, quick and easy fix. That happens when the little fingers pull the threads out. I can secure those, no problem. And he said, and I was sort of bracing myself and like the confrontation, even though it's via text. I shouldn't go immediately to the negative, but that's just my mindset. So anyway, he came back and said, yes, I've been trying to teach my daughters not to do that. They must have got their fingers in and pulled the threads out, and I'll tell them to be gentle. And I'm like, okay, great. So I said to him, fabulous. That's great. Continue teaching them. Gentle hands will all be good. And he said, is this something you can really fix, or is it going to just be the way it is? And I said, no, of course I can fix it. And then he said, could you use some pins or some staples on the end of the piece of thread so that it doesn't come out again? And I said, absolutely no, because no. Could you imagine the legal liability anyway? So I said, no, not necessary, not safe. I will secure it. It won't come out. And I will show you how to do it yourself in case they pull more threads out. You're best to teach them not to pull threads out. And I said, they are handmade. They're not made for that. So anyway, he was supposed to come tomorrow and have a look at this one and bring Bluey back for some repairs, but thunderstorms predicted. No idea if I'm going to be there. So Bingo is ready to go. Sadly, Bingo's a little bit smaller than the Bluey, so hopefully that's not an issue. And hopefully he doesn't mind the sparkles. But as I said, I did explain to him that because Spotlight is just a horrible monster corporation, they don't let us have nice things, and so it's hard to get the yarn when we need it, which is why I decided no more commissions on customs unless I absolutely definitely know. No, not even then. No, I'm not even going to do it then. No commissions on licensed characters that have to be a certain way. Anyway, we've had that conversation. Done. So that's everything that I made for markets. And then, because I have found myself lacking in a few colours, even though I do not have any more space in my room for more yarn, I went to the sewing basket. Because you can't not. And also because I have a good reason. There was an email came out from Spotlight during the week, up to whatever percent off, 40%, anyway, 40% off yarn this week. So I double checked on their website, and yes, the Motivera blankie was $8.40 and the mill ends were $8.40, and I'm like, okay, my local Spotlight is shit for mill ends, but I'm going to go look anyway. And then I noticed in my email again today, there was a $20 off voucher if you spent $50. So, 40% off plus another $20. So, that's a decent saving when I do need to stock up on a few colours. Now, being Spotlight, they engaged in a bit of bastardry and they have not replaced half of the colours for the Motivera blankie. It's stupid. There's like light pink, light yellow, light peach. Don't need any of those because I've got a mountain of the Aldi stuff. Mint green, got a couple of those. Blue that I don't need because I've got a bazillion blues, and a pink that I also don't need because I've got lots of those pinks, but I don't want to be caught out again with stuff that I need. So I got those. They were the Motivera blankies. And then I saw the Jolly and Joy velours and I thought, okay, they're 40% off. I'll grab a couple of those as well because you never know. I will most likely double strand them because that's a little bit thinner than I like. It says to use a 6mm, but I would say that's probably for making plushies, that's probably a 4mm. So I'll put them together with a 6 or a 7. I interrupt this Spotlight haul because I went to the sewing basket. So let me show you the sewing basket stuff first, and I'm saving something really cool. I went to the sewing basket and I didn't get very much at all. I got this velvet yarn, which I know is just from a cheap discount shop, but it was $2. And I know I've got another ball of that, so I can double strand those, and it's a really nice mushroomy pink. So that's not bad for a brand new ball of 100 grams for $2. And then look at this. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but look at this. There's the brand for you. It's a Sheepies. It's 85% acrylic, but it's got a bit of wool in there as well. And look at those colors. It's all different thicknesses. You can see it's sparkling. So I got that, which looks to me to be the whole ball. I'm going to say it's 50 grams. Yes, it is. So it's 50 grams. It doesn't say the meterage. It's 50 grams. But then I got this bit for 50 cents. Same yarn, just the scraps of it. But look at it. It's just beautiful. And I mean, look, it's not going to make a plushie on its own, but you know me, I'm going to put that together with another colour. Look at it. It's like, how could you leave that behind? It's just stunning. Anyway, I've got this much of it. So I'd say that's 50 grams, and that's got to be at least 30, 25, 30 probably. So what would you make with that? It's this irregular thickness. I mean, I probably won't make anything with it. I'll just sit and stare at it because it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking a black beanie with this as an edging would be great, but I would never wear it. Anyway, look at that. I can't. It's stunning. Absolutely stunning. Anyway, that's all I got at what do you call it? The sewing basket. That's all I got at the sewing basket today. Meanwhile, back to Spotlight. I got the blankie stuff. Had to dig through the mill ends. There was nothing much on top apart from the acrylics. Dug way down the bottom, and I found 2 bags of these hanks of blue. Again, I don't need blue, but this I think is that lovely stuff from India, possibly, because I do know it comes in plain colours as well. And for $8.40 plus the $20 off the total, I'm not going to leave it behind when I know I might need it. So any suggestions on blues? I've got navy blue, this blue, mid blue, bright blue, baby blue, ice blue. Any blue suggestions that don't involve bluey or stitch would be fabulous. Fabulous, please. Then, drum roll. They've got that lion yarn that we've been getting, Cover Story I think it is, and I haven't bought any because it's a stupid price and it's variegated and it's like, yeah, turtle shells, and I can't think outside of the turtle shell box. So I haven't bought any of that, but as I was looking at that, directly behind was a brand new valuable yarn from Spotlight. It is Valuable Velvet, and it's in a honkin' big cake. It's a 300 gram cake. Now, yes, it's a velvet. It's a little bit thinner than, well, it's a fair bit thinner than, I know Burnout's not a velvet, but you know, we're talking about the thickness of the yarn. So you can see there, it's not the thickest yarn in the universe. But it's in Spotlight, and it was $8.40. So if you're a local and you haven't found it yet, get thee to Spotlight, because you know what they're going to do. They're going to give us this long enough for us to love it and then say, you can't have nice things. So I'm going to show you what I got. So first of all, it's holy crap. It's a 300 gram ball, and I just saw the meterage, 215 meters. 215 meters. Now, if you don't like velvet, then this is obviously not for you. I am at the point where it's so hard to get anything else. I will take the velvet. I mean, I don't hate velvet. I pick and choose between what I make out of the velvet stuff because I don't think the sheen helps some things. But anyway, okay. So this one is called Rio Red. It's kind of it's not a burgundy. I'd say it's more of a darker crimson color, and it looks a little bit more orange there. But in real life, it doesn't have that orange. It's a bit more. Let me see if I can do this again. Will that change the color? Not really. Anyway, yeah, so it's a sort of a darker crimson. So Rio Red. Now, that's the only one whose name I looked at. I haven't looked at the names of any others. So let's have a look at the names together. This one is a pink, and quite a nice pink as well. This one has been called Raspberry. Boring, but legit raspberry. Very nice. These are heavy as too. I mean, they're 300 grams, but they feel heavy. Which means they feel like good value. And just because I don't have enough, I've only got like about 20 balls of blue blanket yarn. I got this one. It's actually quite a nice mid blue, really. And it's called Dazzling. See, that's what we want in a name. Something that just makes you think, why? Why is that called Dazzling? But anyway, sounds like it might be one of, what do you call him? Zaddy's yarns. Anyway, Dazzling, nice blue. This one, which is a really unusual color, I don't think I've seen before anywhere. And yes, it's a green, but it's like a emeraldy kind of green. It's a very unusual shade of green. And oh, hello, it's called Shady. It's called Shady. And I do want to say something about it being a very slim Shady. Anyway, yeah, so that's Shady green. It's kind of an emerald green. Not sure what I would do with that. Then Okay, I only got one of each of those. There's no saying that if they're on that sort of sale again that I won't go back and get more, but 215 meters, I'm pretty sure they're going to last a little while at least. So now we're getting to the variegated ones. This one is obviously green. It doesn't have the same green as that one I just showed you. So it's got this dark green, this bright yellowy green, a bit of a sage thing going on there. I don't know how these work up yet because you can see I haven't tried them and only just walked in. So this one is called Herb Garden. That's nice. There we go. There's a herb garden. And this one, the label fell off. Oh no, the label fell off. How am I going to tell you what it's called? Oh, label still in the bag. This one is called Azalea Mix. And I reckon whoever named that should get some sort of prize. Because having worked in a plant section at a shop back in the day, looking after azaleas in flowering season, this is exactly the colours that we were selling. So it's got a kind of a red, it's got a bit of magenta, it looks like be about there's a bit of purple as well. So that'll be interesting when it works up. I'm not sure what that will do, but Azalea Mix. And then this is the first one that I found, and I was just so excited. I took a photo, I sent it to Tracy straight away, and I said, have you seen this? And I have to say, if you've been watching Chris at the Enchanted Skein, when she was getting ready for her Halloween market, she had the most absolutely stunning yarn, which was like, I can't get it now because I've thrown it over there, but that one that I just showed you that was the rainbow coloured one, the sheepies one. She had one like that, and I have been disgustingly jealous because it was beautiful, and I looked into getting it and it was going to be something like $40 a ball because this is Australia and our yarn supply sucks beyond belief. Look at that. Get yourself to Spotlight if you're a local. Look at this. I know it's a bit like the one from the Lion Yarn, but it's not. And it's really cool, and it's called, oh God, turn around. It's called Party Time. And I agree with that. Look at that. Is gorgeous, right? So guess we bought 3 balls of that and 1 ball of everything else. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. What would you do with this? Look at it. I don't know how much you get out of each colour. Oh, here we go. Let's have a look. So there's a bit of a red. There's the pink, red, bit of pink and red together. I don't know. Might have to use it for something big. What would you do with it? What would you do with the Azalea Mix? What would you do with any of these? Look at that. I'm a little bit excited because Spotlight sometimes get on the look, and now I'm handling this and the whole thing's just coming to pieces, and I don't care. I'm going to roll it into balls anyway, and I think that's what I might do today. So anyhow, I don't know what to make. Tell me what you would do with these yarns, please, because as I've said before, I can't do decisions. This is like a menu, and I can't do a menu. So you think I can decide what to do with any of this stuff? No, I can't. So please help. Anyway, they had 20% off crochet hooks, and so guess who has a new 7? I got a new 7. I don't know what these are like. I didn't want to pay $25 for one of the tulips because that's silly. These ones looked okay, and I can't even get it out of the box now. I'm just going to rip the box to shreds because it's a new 7. And do you know what's going to happen? As soon as I start using this, I'm going to find my old 7. Anyway, this is a Knit Pro Waves. I don't know what it means. I don't care. Yeah, Knit Pro Waves 2. There we go. It's a 7. It's kind of flattened 7, but it's got this little grip on it, so that should be nice. I would have bought one from Victoria, Vicky Bass, but they don't go. The ones that she has don't go up to a 7, so I got a 7. Yeah, I got a 7. And then just because I don't actually have a decent one, I've got a stupid mini plastic one. There's an 8 in the same one, same brand. So I don't know how much they were. They were like, what, 20% off $7 or something. I haven't even looked at my receipt. So all up, $136 at Spotlight for all of that stuff I just showed you. Just a quick check-in. It's a few hours later. I thought that I was going to spend the afternoon using some of this new yarn. Instead, I spent the afternoon untangling this new yarn. The yarn that I showed you in the last video, that in the last section there, that was just sort of, was coming, yeah. So warning to anybody who is going to buy this yarn, do not let it unravel itself. 3 hours, 15 minutes to untangle and rewind one. So this one is just about to go as well. So because it's a velvet and it's super slippery, it just falls down, 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 down. And as it falls, I don't know how, but it just ties itself in the most ridiculous knots. You know, it's kind of like it's doing some sort of yoga. I don't know what's happening, but do not let this stuff unravel. Be the boss. So I am about to, well, no, I'm not. I'm actually about to go and pack the car just in case Markets is on tomorrow, but do not, don't let it unravel. Stave yourself, roll it up into something else beforehand. I wouldn't even try and do a center pull, or I wouldn't even try to work from the outside. Get these into something a little bit more solid, even if you want to rewind into smaller cakes and things. But yeah, don't let it sit. Anyway, so yeah, about to go and pack the car for Markets. When I come back, I'll probably put a couple of those into a ball. Given that they're not tangled, it shouldn't take too long. But this one, like I said, 3 hours. I got through so many YouTube videos in that 3 hours, it just wasn't funny. And look, it's even untangling from the ball. So I'm going to do a really quick yarn review too, because I did actually, I'm just rewinding as I talk to you. I did actually, after I rewound that, I had to have a little go, and I wanted to show you how the colours fell and just tell you how it works up. So just a little loaf cat. Yeah, just straight start to finish, didn't change the yarn at all. Now, there was a join in it somewhere, and honestly, I can't even remember where the join was. I'm pretty sure it was somewhere with the red, because you can see that there's more red than anything else. I think that there was a bit of red, then a join, and more red. So yeah, it's come out a little stripy, a little bit mixed there on the face, but obviously because they're smaller rows there. The butts come out all speckly as well. There's the underside. So, you know, it's not bad. It's obviously going to come out stripy on something small. So what I'm going to do later on is just try it on something bigger. I was thinking it might be nice for a jellyfish. Might be better as a highlight on a jellyfish. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try it on something bigger just to see how it falls when it's got a bigger round to go through. So as far as review goes, no issues with the magic ring. Worked fine. Didn't snag, pulled through quite cleanly. Super fast to work with, because being a velvet, it's nice and slippy. It didn't shed. So like I said, I sat there for 3.5, did I mention? Almost 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours untying knots, untangling yarn, and it didn't really shed. I mean, it's velvet, so I did get a little bit of fluff on me, but nowhere near as much as I would get on some of the other chenilles and things just working normally. So it's not a shedder. If you pull on that, you know, there's the tiniest little bit of fluff on my finger, but even working with that, there's not any fluff on the body, so it's quite good. One issue that I did have though is that it's quite thin, so I used a 5mm, but I work very, very tight. So if you work loose, you'd probably want to go down 3.5, 4, I imagine. What I'm going to do is what I normally do, and I'm probably going to double strand that with something else. I'm thinking it'd go great with either a black or a white or any of the colours that are in there. But the reason I would do that is because it actually hurt my hand, because it was thin. And so and because it's slippy, I mean, look, if I wrap that around my fingers, I can wrap that around my fingers 3 times and it's still slipping. So it's not to create the tension in your fingers, it's hard. And I found that it made my hand hurt just trying to keep the tension there. So I would strand that with something that has a little more friction to it and make that a little bit easier to work with. It wasn't hard. I mean, that was pretty darn quick. Look at that floppy tail. It was pretty quick. So, you know, a velvet's always going to be fast because it doesn't matter what your hook's like. It's going to slip around on your hook beautifully. But yeah, if for me, I might even double strand it with another ball of that because the two, well, let me see, hang on. If I put the two of them together, it doesn't pull quite so easily. Anyway, I'm going to try out a few different things and obviously I'll show you how it works out. But yeah, if you don't mind working with a velvet on the thinner side, I'd say get that. You know, if I have the opportunity, I'll probably get some more of them, especially this colour, because honestly, like, the other colours are nice, but you know, you can get stuff like that in other yarns too. This one less so. So yeah, that's my mini yarn review and my mini check-in. One more loaf kitty to add to the mix. I'm now off to the garage to pack my car just in case markets are on, because I don't want to have to get up super early in the morning if they are on and I haven't packed the car. So something to do. And then I'll come back and I'll try something bigger with that yarn, I think, after I wind that one to save myself a nightmare later on. Okay, so market day. It was at the smaller of the local markets, the one that I don't do so great at. There is a little bit of footage and there's a look around my stall. It doesn't look very much different to how it normally does, which is great because that meant that setup time was 1 hour, 20 minutes. Market morning, we're done. Nobody's been in yet. Setup was, wait for it, 1 hour, 20 minutes. Yeah, 1 hour, 20 minutes, as opposed to the 2 or the one-off 3 hours that I did. But here's my stall. Victoria is next door. We're playing crochet bingo again. We're playing market stall bingo again, and this is counting as my box for ticking off a selfie. There is Victoria next door doing some selling, and we'll have a look around her stall a little bit later on. Nobody been in yet, super duper quiet, possible thunderstorms. Let's see how it goes. 10:30 check-in, not much going on. The wind picked up for a while, so I don't know if you can see behind me, I've had to put a wall up because everything just kept blowing over, which is good because it was Victoria's turn to do the bingo and she put one cell on there that said the wind blows something over, so I should win just based on the number of things I had to pick up. Anyway, I've sold 5 things so far. 2 drifts went in one transaction, which was great because I haven't sold any drifts for a while, so that gives me an excuse to make some more drifts. Otherwise, there's lots of people coming and poking, but it's still early. It's Saturday morning. It's really stinking hot, as well as the wind. I've got that gazebo, not that gazebo, I've got that wall up at the back to try and get some shade, but unfortunately it just works to trap all the heat. So I'm using that to break the wind from coming in and blowing everything over, and then I'm just hanging out in Victoria's. So where did we go with markets this time? We were at Panania. It's in a park next to a library in the middle of a small suburb shopping centre. No big supermarkets or anything, so you know, it's just people going about their Saturday morning business. It was looking like thunderstorms, and I know that I said that I was working on the premise that there would be no markets because of thunderstorms. Well, it turns out the thunderstorms went somewhere else. It looked really bad when we got there, and it sort of cleared and then it got cloudy again, and it ended up being something like 36 degrees, and I'll try and do the conversion and put it up there. I'm not sure what it is. It's at like, I don't know, 80 something maybe, 84 Fahrenheit. Don't know. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, it got, as it came time towards closing down, it was just getting hotter and hotter and hotter. The breeze was not coming into our stalls at all. I had to put a wall up because of the wind. The wind just kept blowing stuff everywhere. So I had to, I had to put that up. So it was stifling. It was really, really humid in the morning, and then it just got hot and sunny, and the backs of our store were in the full sun all day. There was no way to get into the shade unless we sort of went and sat on the path opposite our stalls, or sat in Victoria's stall where it was shady. Mine, sad to say that the white canopy and the white wall, just, I thought that they would reflect the heat, but it must be the fabric, because they are like an oven. They are like an oven. So I've kind of, I'll get on to what happened at the end of the markets after I've done all the recap, but I'm not sure that that's a market that I'm going to go back to much. Anyway, let's have a look at what sold, which was basically Sweet FA. So it was a quiet day, and I don't know why. There was nothing else on. There was no other markets on, no big fates or anything. It was just one of those days, and this is the quieter market. So all day, I'm looking for my glasses. They're right here in front of me. So 2 key rings, a strawberry and a pineapple. I didn't even write that down. I can remember it. That's how slow it was. So I will remake those because they go okay, and they're super, super fast. Out of my smalls, I sold a blue duck that was made out of the blue mysticals, a pink octopus, which was a random find in the bottom of a tub, not a tub, a bottom of a bag. I made it, easily a year ago, and a little girl was looking for a pink octopus, and yeah, just lucky I happened to have that one, and a pink axolotl. So 3 things from my small category. From my cats labelled as homeless kitties, a grey and black one, which I did not like, and I'm pretty sure I showed that in a video and said I do not like, but somebody loved it and bought that, and another one which I will come back to. In my mid-range things, I sold one hedgehog. It had a brown body and a green hairy back. That went to a lady who she also bought my 2 magic mushrooms, the ones that are on the cover of the pattern. So yeah, she bought 2 of those, and then as she turned to walk away, she saw the hedgehog and she grabbed that as well. So she took all 3 of my mid sales from this market. And then out of my chunks, my very first sale was 2 drift octopuses, which is fabulous because, as much as I love them, I can't binge make those because they don't go so great. Octopuses are sort of up and down. Sometimes you can't get enough, and sometimes you just, one is too many. So anyway, she bought one made out of that variegated Indian yarn that turns out like a watermelon. It's got some green and pink and white. And then she bought another one that was a variegated purples. Don't know where I got that yarn from, so might have got it online. Who knows? Could even be a Portercraft. I don't know, but they're both made out of like a blankie. So they went, and then a turtle made out of the Aldi variegated that has the purple and blue, and yeah, that really nice variegated. That's my favourite. So that was 3 small, 3 mid, 3 chunks, and out of my fancy. So this is where we get to the end of things, and a couple of stories. So you may remember at the markets before last, so 2 weeks ago, I had a man come back and he said, I bought a bluey for my daughter and the tail is falling off. Can you fix it? Honestly, I don't know what that kid did. It was a mess. The tail was not coming off. The tail was not coming off. She had just dug her little fingers in and pulled out stuff that had been buried deep inside that bluey. Anyway, here's a little bit of footage of the operation on Bluey. Thank you very much to Victoria for recording the surgery. scared, Jim? All right, one bluey.
Yeah.
Any threads? I can't see any threads. Bluey's ready to go. And so then he was happy with bingo, and he took bingo as well. So there was another bluey in my fancies, and that also sold. So that was my two fancy things, a bluey and a bingo. So I may have to make more blueys. I do not like making blueys, but people like buying blueys, and I like people buying things. So I'm probably just going to have to suck it up and do some kind of bluey. I don't think I have the right colours. I'm not making a bingo. I'm not making any more bingos. They can have blueys, and as I've said before, I'm not taking any commissions for the licensed characters. So that was it. 2 key rings, 3 small, 3 mid, 3 chonk, 2 fancy, and 2 cats. Now, the other cat that sold that I said I would come back to was just a little black and white tuxedo. And that went to Bundle Guy, because Bundle Guy came back, and he came in and he gave me a lot of advice on things that I should be making and stocking, and things that I should be making for next Christmas. And I pointed out, no, I shouldn't. Anyway, he bought 1 cat this time. So I guess if we take the 1 cat plus the big lot that he bought last week, that's still like 16, 17 things over 2 weeks. So yeah, it's just, yeah, I think, I'm not going to say that he should come back and buy 15 things every week. But it was nice that he came back. He dropped in. His wife came over and said hi. She had a little book stand going on across the road. So yeah, they swung by and bought a cat. So out of the whole day, 15 items sold and $255. So the store cost was $50. So that's not too bad. That's 5 times the store cost. So that's okay. This market is notoriously that. If I just go back and have a look. So yeah, I was there in October. I sold 16 things for $196. So I sold 1 more thing, but took less money. The one before that was 19 things for $234 and 24 things. So this was an average for that market. Now, this market in the middle of December falls on the same day as my other regular market, and I'm fairly certain that I'm going to go to the other regular market instead, because this one from yesterday, you can't drive to your spot. You've got to park in the street and carry your things in, which is fine in the morning for the setup. Less so in the afternoon. The market that the other local market that I go to, you can absolutely drive through the park, stop at your spot, unload everything exactly onto your spot, that's amazing. To be able to do that is just amazing. Another market next weekend that we can do that too, which is really good. So, look, was the day worth it? Sure, possibly, maybe. I don't know. The people, look, it's run by a charity organisation. It's run by Rotary. They are absolutely wonderful people. Their organisation is pretty good. The site's nice. It's just you can't drive up to your spot. You got to carry everything. Then, when it's time to pack up, you've got to try and find, pack up all your stuff and then try and get your car as close as you can on the street or in the car park out the back. And it's not pleasant. And here's where things sort of went to hell in a handbasket yesterday. As I said, it got hotter and hotter and hotter, like insanely hot. And it was 36, but it was because we were sitting in the sun. I was running out of water. I hadn't brought anything I bought like about 2 litres of water, but it was hot. And it's very unlike me to actually drink any water. And no, I didn't bring 2 litres. I bought about 1.5 litres. Anyway, I didn't bring anything frozen. I didn't bring a hat, didn't bring sunglasses, didn't bring sunscreen, didn't bring the cooling towel, those little towels that you soak with water and put around your neck. So the reasons that I didn't do that was because it was supposed to be thunderstorming, and I sort of had in my mind that, we'd be packing up by 11 and going home. But I should have known better because it's not my first rodeo. But anyway, pack up came. I started packing up a bit earlier, not in the way that sort of interferes with, everybody, you see people starting to pack up all their things and their tables look empty. I sort of do a bit of a strategic pack up with things that won't be noticed really, but just fiddly stuff. So things that hadn't been selling, and I hadn't had any sales for an hour. So, I had no issues, and it was hot and it was starting to get unpleasant. And so, I plowed through the pack up, but towards the end of it, I started feeling really sick and getting really hot. Couldn't quite, not catch my breath, but I couldn't breathe well. I was just a lot of shallow breathing and panting that I just sort of couldn't stop. So yeah, I got the pack up done, and then exactly the same as last week. I drove around and got my car from the parking spot, got in it, and it was like a friggin' oven. It was horrible. I had to put all the windows down, crank the air, but I only had to sort of come out of the parking area and go around the block and try and get a spot near my stall. So by the time I got around there, I had cooked even a little bit further, even with the windows open. So I sort of backed the car in, and the car wasn't even in a parking spot. It was kind of like it was in like a little, it was near the parking spots, but it was almost in a bus stop. So anyway, backed the car in, and then things started just getting really unpleasant. The sun was just smashing us. I didn't have far to go with my stuff, but by then I was just running on empty. I had absolutely no energy, had a pounding headache, starting to feel really nauseous, super dizzy. Had to get everything in the car, and I just I couldn't get my brains together enough to pack it as well as I normally do. So I know that there was room for everything, especially given that I sold a few things. So there should have been, a little bit more space. But I just couldn't get it right. And I ended up giving Victoria one of my bags of plushies, and so she's got that in her car because I just couldn't make space for it, and I just couldn't get my head together enough to try and make space. But still having issues with the breathing, feeling like really dizzy, really sick. The lady at the stall next to us was actually lying down on the mat in the shade, and she was in a bad way as well. And her husband was sort of looking after her, and then he did all the packing up. So I got everything in, helped Victoria put something in her car, and went to start my car. And guess what? Same as last week. Didn't start again. Started when I went to get it, didn't start again after I'd packed it. So I tried. I thought last week I waited 10 minutes and it worked fine. So I did that. Nothing happened. And I was feeling really sick. And then the other lady had gotten up and she was sitting in her car and she was right next to me. And she's like, do you want to come and sit in the aircon? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I'm like, no, look, I'm just going to... She ended up coming out of her car and going sitting in the shade because there was a really lovely breeze. But yeah, so we were sitting there just chatting about things, and I was feeling shocking. Like I didn't even trust myself to get up and walk far. So it's kind of good that my car didn't start because I wouldn't have been able to drive. And anyway, it just like after half an hour, it still didn't start. So I had to call for road service with the NRMA, which is our state's organisation for road service. So yeah, they said that they would come in an hour. And while I waited for them, I just sort of got my chair out of the car, found a shady spot where the breeze was coming through and sat and waited. And this lady had gotten back in her car and her husband had finished packing up, and he actually went and got one of the organisers from the markets and told them that I was unwell. And so they actually came over and brought me 3 bottles of water, which was great because I had run out and I just didn't have the brain power to work out where to get my water from. So yeah, they came and sat with me for a while, and I just tipped bottles of water over my head, and they were trying to get me to eat lollies and ice blocks and stuff, but I don't eat sugar, and I didn't want to explain the ramifications of me eating sugar because it's not nice. Anyway, it's quite graphic, and I'm like, I'm not going to be explaining to strangers why I choose not to eat certain things because of the after effects. So anyway, I sat there for like a good half hour, ate a mandarin, drank more water than I've had in the last 6 months, I'm sure. I'm not a great water fan. And then anyway, the guy came for the car in about, he was there easy in 30 minutes, maybe a bit less. And it was the same guy that had come once before, and turned out it was a flat battery. And the interesting thing was, we were all sort of talking about why it happened exactly the same as it happened last week. It was okay to go and get the car, but then it wouldn't start after it had been packed. Turns out that the battery was on its way out because it's been like 3 years since I changed the battery. And it was that I had the hazard lights on both times. So because I wasn't actually this week, because I wasn't in a parking space per se, I invented a parking space. I put the hazards on. I wasn't blocking traffic or anything. Last week it was because I was in a walking zone, so I had to have the hazards on. But just having those hazards on for that short time was enough to drain the battery completely. So that whole immobilizer thing from last week, I don't know why that came on, but anyway, NRMA guy gave me a jump, got the car charging again, and by that time I was feeling well enough to drive. Victoria had actually driven back. She'd already left, and she had come back again for something and saw that I was still there. So her and her fur baby Hazel stayed behind, which was really lovely. Thank you so much, Victoria. And the guy from the Rotary stayed behind too, and he was really nice. So yeah, it was not a pleasant end to the markets. I got home okay, but then I just sort of went into my bedroom, which is really dark, and just had a lie down for a while. And trying to cool down. I don't have air conditioning, and I didn't have a fan on or anything, but didn't need it because after about half an hour I got freezing cold. I was really, really cold, and I think now that my brains are functioning again, I've worked out that it was actually a bit of heat exhaustion at the markets. But then I remember Victoria saying and looking at her, and she was terribly sunburned on her face. And now I can feel it. I was actually getting cold because of the sunburn. So yeah, I've got sunburn across the back, across the front. I can feel my lips are burnt, my arms are a bit burnt. So yeah, it was not the most pleasant end to the markets. I probably would feel better about the whole day if I had sold a little more. But it was a nice day. It was fun. And Victoria and I managed to get spots next to each other. We did ask for that. And so it's really lovely to actually have someone there to chat with for the day. And I may have made Victoria talk business, school business at one point, and I apologise for that a little bit. But we had a bingo. You may remember about 3 weeks ago, Victoria and I had another market together, and we played market vendor bingo, which we invented. And I made the game last time and she won, and this time Victoria made the game and I won. And I actually crossed off way more spaces than I did before. So I won with take a selfie with your stall, easy because you've got to do that with markets. The question, do you take FPOS? That was my last sale of the day. Someone paying with the exact change in cash, and a kid touching everything. And the kid who touched everything bought nothing. So we had a few new things on here. Someone saying, will you be here next month? The wind blows something away. A dog in an outfit. Sadly, we didn't see it, but next week we might get Fedora Dog. Stories is that Fedora Dog is at the markets quite frequently, so I'll try and get a photo. Someone wearing yellow. Not a single person came into my stall wearing yellow. And someone paying by watch, which was new. So I've got to make that for next weekend. So if you've got any ideas on what can go on Market Vendor Bingo, let me know. That's not cheating because, otherwise we would be asking Computer Bob. So that was a little bit of fun throughout the day. I just kept that on the counter and crossed it off as it happened. It was very close. Very, very close. Good game, Victoria. So if you are at markets with a friend, give it a shot. It's a little bit fun. So what I actually did during the day was, as people said things over and over again, I wrote them down. So they will be on next week's bingo card. So then that's the end of my market adventure. I had to go out this morning and get a new battery for my car because I was going to go to a new spotlight. And then when I started the car this morning, it was super slow to start. And I thought, right, I'm not going to get stuck because this battery is just about to die. Didn't want to get caught somewhere. So I figured I'll go and get the battery changed, which will get me halfway to a new spotlight. So I did that. It was a big trip because I had to go. Anyway, so yeah, big trip. Had to get the battery changed, went to a new spotlight, had to stop at some other shops on the way back. So I have been out for about 4 hours and I'm super duper tired. But I wanted to show you a couple of things because I have some more new things. So there was a yarn haul at the beginning. itsy bitsy bitsy yarn haul here at the end. I found this yarn and I wish I'd stuck my finger in the bag. I probably still would have bought it, but I got this from the Millens. I haven't seen this one before. Some of you might. It looked like a blanket. It doesn't feel like a blanket. It feels like a toweling. It's quite rough. I'm not sure how it'll work out. I mean, I'm guessing that you won't be able to see the stitches much, but it's not. Let's see if you can see how rough that is. I mean, it's soft and it's not smooth. It's smooth if you go with it. It's not, so it's like patting a cat backwards, except that it doesn't bite your face. Yeah, so it's variegated pinks. It's really quite rough looking. So, you know, pink, I'm not sure what I'll do with that. My first thought obviously was turtles, but I've got 2 pink turtles already. Yeah, there's a few other things that I do need to remake. Now, I showed you that amazing yarn, the new Spotlight yarn, which is the Velvet Cakes. I bought a whole bunch of those and at least one of every colour that they had at my Spotlight. This new Spotlight had another colour, so I had to grab that. I'm not sure how this one's going to go, but this one is different shades of yellow with a very strong, almost orange. No, that's not showing up at all. Anyway, you're not seeing this very well at all. This here is quite an orange yellow. Let me see if I can focus. I don't think it can. Anyway, so that's quite an orangey yellow, and that's more of a lemony yellow. It's got some beige and it's got some grey. And I haven't looked at the name yet, so let's see what on earth will they call this one? This one is called Mango Tango. Okay, fair point, because that's actually really, that one that I said's a bit orangey, that's, yeah, actually a mango-y colour. I'm not sure what the grey and the brown might be the seed. Maybe the grey is the tango part of the mango. I don't know. That reminds me, when my kids were little, there was a McDonald's nearby, and McDonald's at the time had a burger called a tango burger. And there was no information on the sign about what this was. And so we asked the girl at the counter, what's the tango part? And she said, oh, that's the sauce. And we said, what flavour is it? And she said, it's tango flavoured. And that was as far as we got. Anyway, random memory from about 25, 30 years ago. So yeah, I picked up that. Still on special for $8.40. 2 bags of this, so I've got about 6 balls. They're not very big. It's quite light, kind of rough. The other thing that I didn't get yesterday and I did get today, this is another new thing, and it's a value ball, so you know that we're going to love it, and then they'll take it away from us because we're not allowed to have the things we need. This is a 5-pack of different chenille, and they come in different colour schemes. I only got this one because the other ones had colours that I just didn't really need. I already had some. So this has got 5 different browns in it. So it's got like just an off-white, I don't even know let's see if they've got names. They might have names. So let's have a look. No, it just says neutral mix. So there's this one, which is like a taupe. There's this one, which is a little bit like a light nugget colour. Or a, oh, it's gone. No, there it is, Evie. It's a little bit like an Evie. This one is almost like a honey or a caramel or a butterscotch kind of colour. They don't have names. They're all just called neutral mix. Yeah. And then there is, I'm trying not to bump the camera again. This one, which is it's a bit darker than a cream, because then the last one, just let me pull that out. The last one is actually a cream, so you can see the slight difference there. So yeah, that's, let me just pull them up. So there's those 5 colours. Now, I haven't tried the yarn yet. It is thin. I would say it's not, do I have an Aldi ball here? No, I do not. I don't think it's as thick as the Aldi yarn. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit thinner. It says use a 6 mil. I'm feeling like I'm going to double strand these because it is quite thin. So I don't know what I'm going to make with them, but a couple of times I've sort of wished I had a cream colour and I didn't. So I got 2 packs of that. So I've got 200 grams of each colour. There's only 105 metres per ball. So not great, but they were $18 down from $30. So I figured, okay, let's get some. Yeah, so that was my extra yarn that I got today on the way to get my car fixed. So what have I done with my other yarn? So the one that I got that was one of these velvet value balls and was just the most gorgeous colours. I started this at markets and it was so hot that I couldn't even, I tried crocheting and I couldn't. So yeah, this was that yarn on the top there. So My Magic Mushy. And it turns out that it was a really good idea to start making one of those because somebody bought one and I got none left now. So yeah, I used that for the hat and just some white blankie for the body. So that's actually kind of cute. I like that. And then what else did I do with it? Oh, because I love to mix things, I mixed it with an Aldi white, and I have done this loaf cat, and it looks to me on the green and the red bits, it looks like those Christmas peppermint candies that you get. So that'll probably go in my chunks, I think. I love how clean it came out. It's really smooth. I did that with my 9. So absolutely love this. It feels amazing too. It's like, it's the velvet, it's the chenille. It was really good. And that velvet was actually much easier to work with when it was paired up with that Aldi chenille. So yeah, stripy candy cat. And then I actually made this today with that hideous, awful glitter yarn, the Value Ball glitter yarn from Spotlight. Because I sold my dino last week, I had to remake a dino. And I used the glitter yarn. I don't know if you can see the glitter parts there. I did that with the new 8mm hook that I got from Spotlight on Friday. I went to Spotlight. So I did this with the 8mm. And it was so much easier to work with. I love those hooks. I can't remember the brand, but I did show you earlier. If you get a chance and if you need a new hook, they were really good. And I bought them from there because they were the big size that I needed. So I got a 7 and an 8. So I did this one with the 8. The yarn just absolutely slid over. It didn't hurt my fingers. I work really tight, so the 8 was just perfect with that. So I'm going to be able to plow through my glitter yarn now if I keep using the 8. Brontosaurus is a free pattern on Instagram by Kaylee Crochet. That's what it looks like originally. Really cute. The last one that I made didn't stand up. This one stood up. I made its tail a little bit heavier just to counterweight the front, but I think I just did a better job all round on this one. Really easy to make. You start at the bottom of the legs and you do a pair, then you do another pair, and then you stitch them together and off you go. There is absolutely no sewing. There's a hole for the neck and for the tail, and you just on your merry way. Absolutely no sewing whatsoever. Really quick pattern. I was surprised how fast that was. So I'm going to make some more of those in the blanket yarn. Maybe they'll be a little bit more popular if they are standing up clearly and they are clustered together. I do feel much better today. I have had lots of liquids. I had a decent sleep, and yeah. So next weekend's markets, you can drive and drop off. So hopefully that will be okay. And I think we were under some trees last time, which was really good too. So some weather coming through at the moment though, so maybe not on. It's predicting rains for Saturday, so we'll just have to keep an eye out for next weekend. In the meantime, this week, I'm going to catch up on a few things. I don't need to do any more loaf cats, thank goodness, not the little ones anyway. I'm going to do some more magic mushies, and I'll probably do some hedgehogs. I want to do a couple new drifts, and oh look, if I can stand it, I will do a bluey or a stitch, but I don't like them very much. I mean, I don't know either character because I haven't seen the movie or the show, but yeah, I don't feel like making them. Anyway, I tend to just make what I like. You're aware of this. So I'm finished. Thank you so much for coming by again. It was a very interesting market, if not especially profitable, but you know, every little bit counts. It paid for all the yarn that I bought over the 2 days. And I will catch up with you probably after markets, maybe a Sunday night Australian time. Thanks again for coming by. Don't forget to subscribe if it's the kind of video that you're interested in. Please hit the like button and leave a comment if you get a chance. I would appreciate that very, very much. Thanks for coming. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next weekend. Bye.